Hi everybody, welcome to the lab, and today we're going to take a close look at the influence of population migration patterns on gang emergence, or gangs in America. This is the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. Three large groups of early immigrants populated the Northeast and Midwest regions of the United States. The so-called old immigrants first came predominantly from England and English territories, and also Dutch, German, Swedish, and Scandinavian peoples. In the second large wave from 1865 to 1890, approximately 11 million immigrants arrived from mainly northern and western regions of Europe, especially Great Britain, Germany, Scandinavia, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. The third group of immigrants from countries of Southern and Eastern Europe, the Poles, Italians, Austrians, and many others, another 11 million or so arrived from 1890 to 1930, largely consisting of low-skilled, low-wage laborers. Not unexpectedly, the three large immigrant surges overwhelmed the housing and welfare capacity of the young northeastern and midwestern cities, contributing directly slum conditions and the crime problems, which included gangs. Street gangs emerged from similar conditions of social disorganization in Chicago. In contrast, gangs initially grew out of the pre-existing Mexican culture in the West region, and subsequent Mexican migration continuously fueled their growth. Immigrant groups along the trail from Mexico to Los Angeles initially populated El Paso, Albuquerque, and Los Angeles. The migrants brought the embryo or pre-gang subculture called Pachuco that quite likely began forming in El Paso. Gang emergence in the South does not appear to have been grounded in any of the pre-existing conditions found in the Northeast, Midwest, and the West. Street gang emergence in the South. The broad South region emerged much later than other regions as an important gang territory. First, it lacked a central large city that could have provided a springboard for gang growth. For many years, San Antonio was the only large city, but it was too isolated to extend its gang influence. Now, it's widely concluded that gang activity likely did not emerge in the southern states prior to the 1970s. Towards the end of the decade, only 6 southern cities reported gang activity: Dallas, Texas; Durham, North Carolina; Fort Worth, Texas; New Orleans, Louisiana; Miami, Florida; and San Antonio, Texas. Among these cities, only Miami and San Antonio were considered to have a moderately serious gang problem at the time. Actually, Dallas, San Antonio, St. Louis, Fort Worth, and Miami reported a greater problem with disruptive local groups than gangs in the 1970s. However, before the end of the 20th century, it's believed the South region matched the other major regions in the prevalence of gang activity. Several southern states saw sharp increases in the number of new gang counties by 1995. Florida, 23%. South Carolina, 15%. Alabama, 12%. And Texas, 8%. From the 1970s through 1995, the South region led the nation in the number of new gang cities, a 32% increase versus the increase of 26% in the Midwest, 6% in the Northeast, and only 3% in the West. In addition, gang activity emerged in multiple cities in a number of southern counties by 1995. The two best known Mexican prison gangs are the Texas Syndicate and Mexican Mafia, and have been for decades. A third major Texas prison gang, Tango Blast, well, that was established inside Texas state prisons during the early 1990s to shield inmates from other prison gangs. A unique feature of the Tango Blast is its lateral organization structure, which is divided up by cities or hometowns for expansive protection. The Houston Tango Blast prison gang is the overall fastest growing gang in Houston, with a current membership of about 2,700 documented members, and its membership extends into 12 of the 17 nearby counties. Houston emerged in the past decade as a major gang center in the South. In addition, the Latin Disciples is another regional gang that operates in Houston, along with more than 20 local gangs that present a significant threat, according to the Houston Multi-Agency Gang Task Force. Aside from Houston Tango Blast, the Houston Intelligence Support Center identifies the next largest gangs in the city as the 52 Hoover Crips, 59 Bounty Hunters, Southwest Cholos, Bloods, 59 Piru, Treetop Piru, and La Primera, each with more than 300 members. The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 ended the nation's quotas on foreigners in the United States, and this led to a shift in immigration to the states from European origins to Central and South American and Asia. Fast forward to modern day gang activity. In previous years, many gangs operated under a blood in, blood out rule, which required members to remain committed for life. Now, younger gang members are opting for looser structures and less commitment, hoping to reap more profit without first asking permission from gang leaders. Gang members' social media use to communicate, boast, and recruit has also grown in recent years. They post videos to brag about their achievements and use encrypted messaging applications to thwart law enforcement based on 11 factors, including level of criminal activity, relationship with cartels, and statewide organizational effectiveness. The department ranked Texas gangs from most threatening to least threatening. MS-13 is considered one of the most violent gangs in the country. Though the department ranked it Tier 1, the highest category of threat in Texas, it is not the single most threatening, according to the department. And that title belongs to Tango Blast and associated cliques, which boast as many as 25,000 members in Texas. The gang has a presence in nearly every county in the state and was one of the gangs with the highest number of homicide and sexual assault arrests in Central Texas region, which includes San Antonio. It's 1:15 in the morning on a Sunday in May. At the Alazan Apache Courts, one of San Antonio's toughest housing projects, 7 teenage boys wearing designer jeans and polo shirts huddle behind the fence and garbage dumpsters that separate the rear courtyard from the street. The boys crack jokes and suck down 40-ounce bottles of malt liquor. The cover is decent here. They can see the street through the fence, and they have memorized every car in the neighborhood and its owner. Anyone cruising by looking to shoot somebody would have difficulty aiming into the shadows of the courts. The boys, ranging in age from 16 to 18, are members of 3 different gangs that get along. Usually, they lean against the dumpster or sit with their backs against a concrete wall. Just blocks away live their enemies, members of rival gangs from neighboring housing projects. The Casiano homes, the San Juan homes, the Villa Vermendi, and the Victoria Courts, clustered on San Antonio's west side. You always got to watch your back, says one of the boys, a 16-year-old who joined his first gang when he was 11. He chats amiably about what he and his friends do for fun. Quote, we get real drunk, he says. We get all hyped up, and we do a drive-by or something like that. And at that moment, 5 shots rip through the air, and he and the others fall silent. The shots were close and loud. All 7 boys start running through the rear courtyard toward the gunfire. If the shooters make another pass, the boys can see who it is. The boys backtrack through the soggy yard where laundry hangs from clotheslines and grass needs cutting, and they are a little edgier than they were before. Behind a sagging sheet, a dark figure approaches the boys, and he yells something in Spanish as he points the gun at them and slides back the chamber. Is this it? The moment is tense, but the boy turns out to be a friend. The others laugh at his performance and return to their spots against the wall and the dumpster. But something has changed. The air is electric. They chuckle and say they are not afraid. Quote, things like this happen all the time. Meanwhile, the teenager with the gun paces around the group back and forth, watching their backs. No one got hurt that night, but the incident brings into relief the 2 San Antonios. One, a thriving city of beauty, history, and culture that draws tourists from around the country, and the other, a city of warring youths, where small children are killed in their beds by stray gunfire. In 1993, there were 1,200 drive-by shootings reported in San Antonio, which had a population of about 900,000. The police department estimates for every drive-by that is reported, 10 are not. In contrast, Dallas, with a population of over 1 million, and reported 221 drive-by shootings. Fort Worth Police Department recorded 186 drive-bys, and in Austin, there were an estimated 50. People are afraid to go outside. Children are afraid to play outside, says San Antonio police officer George Sexton. Until recently, Sexton patrolled Military Drive, a favorite Sunday night cruising strip on the south side where gang members go to meet girls. And San Antonio may be the 7th largest city in the U.S., but when it comes to gangs in the state of Texas, they're number 3. But some of the most violent crimes committed by gangs are happening in San Antonio, Texas. It appears that in San Antonio, that narcotics is related to approximately 65 to 70% of all violent crime that has been committed. These gangs, these members who commit these individual crimes, that is why we investigate them. We don't just randomly pick who we investigate. We go to where the crime was committed. And that coming from a district attorney spokesperson. Each crime, murder, assault, are documented and are studied by the Texas Anti-Gang Center in San Antonio. It's made up of a multi-state, local, and federal agencies that includes San Antonio Police Department, Bexar County Sheriff's Office, FBI, DEA, and that's just to name a few. Those groups focus on the investigation of the gang members engaged in narcotic trafficking, weapon trafficking, and violent crime. At the root of the violence in San Antonio is narcotics trafficking, weapons trafficking. There are no rules, and nobody is safe. In the San Antonio gang world, whether it be the cartel, street gangs, or individual contractors, the price of life is cheap, with no end in sight. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. And this is the lab. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.